Good evening, everyone. We are so glad that you're here to join us tonight for this online celebration of Rabbi Samuel Stahl. As you know, we were all set to gather at Temple just about a year ago for what was going to be a sold-out gala celebration. I know that you, like me, could never have imagined at that time that we'd still be dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic a year later. But here we are. So like we've done at so many other times throughout history and in the last year, we've pivoted to bring you something different, but still a wonderful tribute to Rabbi Stahl. Rabbi Samuel Stahl came to San Antonio in 1976 to succeed Rabbi David Jacobson as Temple Beth-El senior rabbi. For 26 years, he led our congregation with integrity and dedication. His commitment to meeting the needs of every single member and remembering names, life events, and family connections is legendary. And since his retirement in 2002, he has continued to pursue his love of scholarship, his passion for pursuing social justice, and his commitment to maintaining deep interfaith connections in San Antonio. Tonight, with memories, greetings, music, and lots of love, we celebrate all that Rabbi Stahl has done for Temple Beth-El, the Jewish community, and the greater community of San Antonio. We hope you will enjoy our time together tonight.
I think Sam Stahl is an extremely caring person who's on the planet at this time when things are so challenging, trying to be a connector. And he's somebody with a deep faith, and I think really found that Judaism's principles, which are very similar to all the other religions, certainly direct who he is.
I think Sam's secret to success is that he always holds himself to the highest of standards, and it's very important to him that he does the right thing and that he communicates fully and completely with people. And I think another amazing secret of his that many of us could only hope to have in our own lives is an incredible memory where he remembers people's names, he remembers life cycle events and relationships, and so whoever he meets or re-meets, he's immediately able to make that personal connection or reconnect with people, and it's very touching, very moving.
Hi, I'm Mayor Ron Nirenberg. Rabbi Sam Stahl exemplifies the San Antonio spirit of teamwork and service. We honor Rabbi Stahl for his service as senior rabbi of Temple Beth-El for more than a quarter century, but he also made his mark in the whole community. His leadership helped build a strong foundation for interfaith relations among San Antonians of various faith traditions. A board member of the Interfaith San Antonio Alliance, he has long been an icon for community building and working to help economically distressed and homeless San Antonians. He has served in many capacities over the years, such as founding the San Antonio chapter of Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, serving as a member of the Martin Luther King Jr. City-County Commission, and becoming a lifetime member of the Santa Rosa Children's Hospital Foundation. He launched his life of service as a U.S. Army chaplain in the 1960s, and it's my great pleasure to help honor Rabbi Stahl today. He provides inspiration for us all. Thank you, Rabbi Stahl, for your many contributions to our city and its residents. Our city is a better place because of your work and dedication.
I would like to offer my congratulations and affection to Rabbi Samuel Stahl at this virtual celebration. While he is predominantly known for his outstanding service as Rabbi at Temple Beth-El, Rabbi Stahl has also been deeply committed to enhancing interfaith relations. He is the first Jewish leader to receive religious leadership awards from the Texas Conference of Churches and the San Antonio Community of Churches. This city has a long, rich history of interfaith friendship. Rabbi Stahl is one of these giants in interfaith leadership here, collaborating along with Archbishop Patrick Flores, Reverend Buckner Fanning, and the Reverend Louis Subenden. They followed in the footsteps of Rabbi David Jacobson, Archbishop Robert Lucy, and Episcopal Bishop Everett Jones. These religious leaders addressed the whole San Antonio community jointly, giving moral guidance on many social issues. San Antonio's history of interreligious dialogue, understanding, and mutuality has been on display prominently in the annual Catholic Jewish Hanukkah celebration, which has taken place for 20 years. This gathering illustrates the mutual love and affection between our two communities and is a model for all cities everywhere. The strong Catholic-Jewish relationship in San Antonio predates Vatican II and was highly irregular at the time. Perhaps this close friendship is because our two faiths share a founding year locally. Temple Beth-El, the city's oldest Jewish congregation, and the Diocese of San Antonio were both founded in 1874. More recently, I have been fortunate to join with Rabbi Stahl and scores of local religious leaders belonging to the Interfaith San Antonio Alliance, or ISAA, who are committed to address from a faith perspective the crisis resulting from homelessness, lack of affordable housing, and gentrification in our city. ISAA has brought together San Antonio's leaders from the widest spectrum of religious traditions to date. For many decades, interfaith relations involved only Protestants, Catholics, and Jews. ISAA has significantly broadened that scope to include Muslims and Sikhs, and its members hope to expand further with leaders from additional faith groups. Rabbi Stahl has played a lead role in organizing this group, whose goal was for faith leaders of our community to bond more closely by engaging in humanitarian projects that benefit our community. We know that by acting together, while respecting our respective religious traditions, we may be able to improve and enhance the quality of life here. Through his insightful speech, organizing skills, hands-on involvement in projects, and willingness to engage civic and public officials, Rabbi Stahl continues to make present and alive the Word of God here and now in this place. Thank you, and may God bless you.
He really does believe all faiths matter and all faiths count. And I would say, he'd never heard him say these words, they all count just as much as the other. But the other magic of Sam Stahl is he's been doing it for decades.
Sam sees the world as I think it was divinely meant to be. And without any pretense, that's important. There are people, who love humanity. They just don't like people, individuals. Sam actually works the other way around. Sam really loves people.
He's thoughtful, and as Paul said, he really knows how to deliver a message that people walk away, they've been thinking, they've pondered, they may or may not always agree with him. He's very courageous.
If there were no Sam Stahl, God wouldn't have been one. Because what you see in Sam is actually beyond the human capacity, even fully to comprehend. Sam is deep. He changed simply by becoming deeper, which is what you're supposed to do as you grow older. People who never change at all on the surface may change a great deal inside.
He loves being Jewish. He loves the values, I think the social action values, and the interfaith. We both raised in small towns, and we were very big minorities. I was the only Jewish kid in my high school except for my sister. And he was in a less isolated situation, but both of us had tremendous relationships with kids who were Christian. Neither of us knew anyone who was Islamic.
Sam is like a brother. We've talked over the years of many subjects: rabbinic, politics, family, work together, and I've treasured his views, his intellect, his ability to study and integrate information. The only thing I would add is overall you're looking at a very special human being.
I think Paul's right. He's unique. And I think Sam and Lynn together are such an amazing couple. They blend together, but they're each their own individual person. I love to watch with the grandchildren. Oh my gosh, he's great with them, don't you think?
Yes. No, we have a great time doing a lot of traveling, a lot of meals, a lot of family time, a lot with the grandkids, with the kids, aunts, nieces, nephews, cousins. So it's just a tremendous lot of fun with the family.
Rabbi Stahl is a very likable man. Even when I first met him, didn't know him very well. His way of talking was one of being open-minded. He valued getting to know people that were not just like him. He didn't have any desire to deal only with people that he had known for a long time. He was open and anxious to become acquainted with people at Chautauqua who came from a different religious background. And for me personally, that was exactly what we were looking for, because we knew we had a large Jewish community at Chautauqua and that there was a strong need to integrate them into the Chautauqua community much greater than it was probably almost 50 or 60 years ago. As the first rabbi to be there and to spend the entire summer at Chautauqua, I knew from the beginning that he was going to deepen his relationship. He was going to build a way in which people of different faiths could come to be knowing each other and, in fact, looking very much forward to what they would gain from one another and how they could become the community that is today Chautauqua.
It is a joy to have Rabbi Stahl as my emeritus, and we always have wonderful talks, and I feel very grateful and fortunate to feel supported by him and Lynn in my work here as the rabbi at Temple Beth-El.
There are places I'll remember all my life. Though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. All these places have their moments. With lovers and friends, I still can recall. Some are dead, and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I'll love you more. In my life, I'll love you more.
Congratulations, Sam. Very, very pleased and honored to be your mother-in-law.
Sam, I am so grateful to have you in my life. As you have blessed me and so many others, I wish you shefa brachot, an abundance of blessing. You make the world richer and kinder and better. May you continue to do so for 120 years, as they say, ad mea ve'esrim, and then some for inflation.
I wish we were gathering together in person this evening, eating delicious food and toasting Rabbi Stahl. Since we are unable to do that at this time, meeting online gives us a unique opportunity to celebrate Rabbi Stahl by supporting our beloved temple Beth-El, and at the same time fulfilling the mitzvah of tzedakah. Using the funds that you so generously donated to honor Rabbi Stahl, we are making a donation to Meals on Wheels, providing thousands of meals to people in our community who are food insecure. Money that would have been spent on catering costs will be used to change the lives of those in need. Temple Beth-El has a long-standing relationship with Meals on Wheels. Our wonderful temple members have been delivering these meals every week for 19 years and are currently responsible for 4 of their routes. We have volunteers who have continued to deliver faithfully during the pandemic. Knowing Rabbi Stahl and Lynn's deep commitment to social action, it feels like a silver lining to be able to celebrate them in this way. We will now take a few moments to learn a little more about what Meals on Wheels does for the San Antonio community.
Hi there, I'm Vincent Ferris. I have the great privilege of serving as Chief Executive Officer of Meals on Wheels San Antonio, and here today with a big celebration and a big shout out. Meals on Wheels has such a long partnership, long history with the temple, and that means far more than probably most of you can realize. Meals on Wheels has been serving the San Antonio, Bexar County community for over 40 years, starting out very small in the mid-'70s, and here we are today, this crazy time of coming off of a pandemic and just the last week or so with the incredible ice age that seems like it descended on San Antonio and the state. But Meals on Wheels is all about people. It's an organization of people, serving people. It's people helping people, neighbor helping neighbor. And I think that says a lot to our relationship with the congregation. We primarily help people that are older. Most of the people that we serve are well past 70 and 80 years old. This week I know that there are 11 people that are over the age of 100 that we're actually serving meals to. People think of Meals on Wheels and like, oh, it's a meal delivery service. It's much, much more than a meal delivery service. Yes, we are taking a hot, nutritious meal in normal times. Pandemic times, we're taking chilled meals. But we're taking that food to nourish these folks, to help them sustain them. But we're also doing more than that. We're there to check on them. We're letting them know that they aren't forgotten, that there are people in the community who are here to help. And I've been doing Meals on Wheels for a long time. I used to be the one that would stand up on the table and say, it's all about the food. These days, it's much, much more than the food. It's the personal connection, people reaching out and touching people. We are fighting isolation. We are fighting hunger. We are doing everything we can to help sustain these folks. Fighting sounds like it might be a harsh word. It probably is. What we're doing is caring. caring, caring, caring. So if we can keep people in their homes where they want to be, we have made a huge, huge success. Temple Beth-El has been right alongside us for almost 20 years now, serving as a pickup point for the neighborhood there, volunteers from the congregation out pounding the pavement, knocking on the doors, and delivering checking on these special seniors that we serve. And so we say thank you. I had the opportunity here a couple of years ago during our San Antonio Let's Do luncheon to be seated by Rabbi Nathan, get to visit with her prior to and after her giving the invocation for the luncheon. It just reinforced what I already knew, and that's the special relationship that we have with the temple. And here today, you know, we're also recognizing Rabbi Stahl and the great work that he's done here in the community. We thank him for his leadership. We thank him for his dedication for making San Antonio a better place to live for all of us. So to all of you who might be seeing this and hearing my made-for-radio face and voice, thank you. You mean the world to us. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure now to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, Rabbi Jonathan Roose. Rabbi Jonathan Roose did not grow up in San Antonio, but his wife, Elizabeth Siegel, did. Rabbi Roose told me that not only did Rabbi Stahl officiate at his wedding, but he served as a key mentor to him as he was considering applying to rabbinical school. He and Rabbi Stahl have remained connected all these years, with Rabbi Stahl traveling to install Rabbi Roose as senior rabbi at Temple Sinai in Washington, D.C. in 2010, and his former congregation in New Jersey. So it is especially sweet to have Rabbi Roose share remarks tonight. Rabbi Jonathan Roose serves as senior rabbi at Temple Sinai, where many of Washington, D.C.'s leading Jewish leaders, journalists, and government officials belong. He has a passion for teaching traditional Jewish sources to learners of all ages. He is committed to Jewish social justice work with a particular focus on issues of immigration and refugee rights. Rabbi Roose received ordination from the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in 2002 with special awards for Best Sermon Delivered, Outstanding Contributions to Women and Judaism, and Outstanding Academic Achievement. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania and received a master's degree in American History from the University of Maryland in College Park. He is a member of the Central Conference of American Rabbis, the CCAR, and previously served congregations in Tinton Falls, New Jersey, and Albany, New York. Rabbi Roose's love for Judaism and Jewish community is founded on his family's deep involvement in his childhood temple, Beth-El of Randolph, Massachusetts, great experiences in his USY youth group, and many amazing summers at Camp Bowercrest in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Please join me in welcoming Rabbi Jonathan Roose.
Sam, what an incredible honor for me to have been asked by you and the committee to speak as part of this celebration of your 80th birthday, belatedly, and such a wonderful and lasting significant career and commitment. You and Lynn have played such a large role in my life and the life of my family. Elizabeth and I are deeply grateful, and we send our love. Thank you also to Rabbi Nathan and to the clergy team, Dr. Benedict, members of the board, and to the chairs of this event for involving me in this, the whole congregation. I offer my thanks. In the Mishnah, Pirkei Avot, chapter 4, it says, "Let the honor of your student be as dear to you as your own, the honor of your companion as great as the awe you feel for your teacher, and the awe for your teacher as great as your regard for heaven." Throughout his life and his career, Sam Stahl has been many things and held many titles. He's been a student and a teacher, a companion and a friend, and one for whom, as the Mishnah put it, the regard for heaven was great. As a student at Hebrew Union College, working one summer at a Boy Scout camp in Muskegon, Michigan, he was sometimes called Father Stahl. And while stationed in Korea as a U.S. Army chaplain, Sam would sometimes identify himself as Yudain Moksa. He's a doctor of philosophy 3 times over, and of course, loving husband and life partner to Lynn, father to 2 girls, and grandfather. Long before there was Better Call Saul in my house, we had Better Call Sam. For the past 26 years, Rabbi Stahl has been my teacher, my rabbi, and I was a Johnny-come-lately, forgive the pun, into the family fold, as he had officiated at the Benot Mitzvah of my wife and her sister, their confirmation ceremonies, both of their weddings in Beth-El sanctuary, and he blessed both of my sons, who are now 20 and 22, with their Hebrew names shortly after they were born. Through much of that time, Rabbi Stahl was one of my greatest mentors. He coached me through rabbinical school admission. He blessed me and my congregation at my installation in New Jersey, my first solo congregation, and my current pulpit, Temple Sinai, in Washington, D.C. In the years since I moved here to Washington, Sam and I have talked about being a senior rabbi in a large congregation in the nation's capital, with members who are literally at the center of American power and influence. I don't want to overstate things by saying that Sam Stahl taught me everything I know to prepare me for that role. I have had great teachers throughout my life. But it is pretty close. Rabbi Stahl taught me the first things I ever learned about becoming and being a rabbi, and some critical lessons that guide me still, and I think have relevance for all of us today. One of those early critical lessons that Rabbi Stahl taught me was about faith. I was exploring the possibility of rabbinical school at the time. It was not a career that I had grown up considering. The rabbinate made great sense to me, though, on many levels. Academically, intellectually, organizationally, it was a nearly perfect fit. But I had not been a religious person in the traditional sense. I didn't have a clearly formed theological outlook. And as I told Rabbi Stahl one day in his study, I was not a person who considered himself a man of any kind of faith. So despite checking all the other boxes for rabbinical school, how could I enter such a career? You don't have to be considering rabbinical school these days to struggle with faith. In a world where truth is disparaged and undermined, and when we find so much about which to be disappointed every day, it can be hard to have hope in something better. It can be hard to believe in anything whose promise of a better day is deferred to an unseen future. Another lesson from Perkei Avot teaches, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, velo atem b'nei chorin lehivatel mimenu. That means you're not obligated to finish the task or the work, but you're also not free to desist from it. Sam encouraged me to see faith in similar terms. You don't have to be a person of perfect faith, he told me. Indeed, it's better for someone entering the Reform rabbinate not to be. But you must be open to an unfolding faith journey across the course of your life. You must always be open to the possibility of faith, Sam told me. The point is made best, perhaps, in a story about a famous itinerant preacher who led giant tent revival meetings. He arrived in town one morning, and while his staff was setting up the camp, he went to find the local post office to send some mail. He found a young boy and asked, "Son, can you show me where the post office is?" "Sure." He walked the preacher right to the front door. Grateful, the man said, "You know, son, you don't know me, but I am a famous man of faith, a preacher who has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. Tonight, we are having a great tent revival meeting. There are no seats left. They're all spoken for. But I would like to host you and your family as my personal guest. I'd like to give you a priceless gift. I will show you the way to find God. I will show you the way to finding a life of faith and eternal happiness." Now at that, the boy just shook his head and walked away, turned back and said, "I don't think so, mister. You don't even know how to find the post office." Sam has taught many of us that a stronger faith is found by embracing doubt as much as certainty, by teaching us to develop the skills for finding our own way, even as we trod our ancient ancestral path of wandering in the wilderness. When Sam and I first met, we were both interested in civil rights, Black-Jewish relations in particular, and social justice more generally. I was at the time pursuing a PhD in history, and I was becoming more interested in activism than scholarship. I wanted to not be in the ivory tower. I wanted to be in the work. Sam encouraged me to see Judaism as encouraging that kind of activism. And in the spirit of a Talmudic debate as to whether study is greater than action or action greater than study, Rabbi Stahl also urged me, as Akiva does in that Talmudic passage, not to abandon study, indeed to keep scholarship as a priority, for it is the basis of righteous Jewish actions and the grounding for future deeds. The lesson is further exemplified in the Talmudic passage that tells about the ongoing disagreements between two schools of famous rabbis. The students of Hillel and the students of Shammai disagreed on almost everything. One classic example you may know comes from Hanukkah. Hillel taught, for example, that when we start the holiday, we put one candle in the menorah and we add one each night until we have 8 on the last night. Shammai had the opposite. Shammai taught us to start with a full menorah of 8 and remove one each night. So in discussing their ongoing debates, the Talmud says in the name of Rabbi Abba and Shmuel, for 3 years Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai disagreed. One side said the halacha is in accordance with our opinion. The other side said the halacha, the Jewish law, is in accordance with our opinion. Ultimately, a divine voice called out from heaven, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. Both the words of this school and the words of that school are considered words of the living God. However, the divine voice said, the halacha, the Jewish law, follows the opinion of Beit Hillel. Now, the Talmudic narrators, the Gemara, asks a question about this story. It doesn't just leave it at that. The Gemara asks, okay, if both are considered words of the living God, why is it that Beit Hillel was privileged to have Jewish law established in accordance with their opinion? The reason the Talmud gives, they answer their own question, the reason is that Beit Hillel was agreeable and forbearing in their character. They showed restraint. When they were affronted and when they taught the halacha, they would teach both their own statements and the statements of Beit Shammai. Moreover, when they formulated a lesson, when they presented a teaching and cited a dispute, a disagreement, they would prioritize the statements of Beit Shammai in deference to Beit Shammai and to show respect. Now, I love this text because it teaches us that being a scholar, that being a smart student, a smart person, is profoundly important. One should study. One should especially study other people's opinions and work harder than your peers, especially one's competitors. That's what Beit Hillel did. And that's not enough. One must be, as the Talmud called it, agreeable and forbearing, or as we might say, you have to also be a mensch. It's not enough just to be smart, and it's not enough just to be right. Shammai is, technically speaking, right. But to be the best rabbi, to be a great teacher, you have to be more than that. Rabbi Stahl, over the decades that I've known you and seen your work, you have demonstrated these ideals as much as anyone. You've always spoken about the importance of building bridges and reaching out hands to neighbors, while also maintaining the highest levels of scholarship. More than that, though, you have lived those values. Your interfaith trips to Israel, guest lectureships, teaching posts at several schools, learning institutions like Chautauqua have become legendary efforts to combine deep learning with close personal connection with the kind of deeds that make our world a better place. You were, in short, cut from the same cloth as Hillel, and I've always tried to follow that same model. No lesson, however, has been more meaningful to me than the guidance that you offered under the chuppah at Elizabeth's and my wedding in 1995, and Beth-El Sanctuary. At that point, it was before I had even begun considering rabbinical school. I wasn't aimless exactly, but let's just say I was a work in progress. It was also my first in-depth experience of Reform Judaism, as I had grown up and really only knew the conservative movement, its practices and outlooks. Elizabeth had grown up at Beth-El, and she had been a dancer who took ballet lessons with your daughter Heather. You found a message, words of wisdom that spoke to both of us, right where we were in our life's journey. You also found a message that shared important wisdom for a future that we are living today. You offered a quote, a passage from Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh, about the importance of embracing change, letting go of fixed expectations, and the vital role that a loving partner can play in our lives. The quote went like this: "When you love somebody, you don't love them exactly the same way all the time. We have so little faith
in the ebb and flow of life, of love, of relationships. We leap at the flow of the tide and resist in terror its ebb. We are afraid that that love will never return. We insist on permanency, on duration, on continuity, when the only continuity possible in life as in love is in growth, in fluidity, in freedom, in the sense that dancers are free, barely touching as they pass, yet partners in the same pattern. May you, like dancers, always be partners in the same pattern. Amen."
We are, all of us, out of sorts. The coronavirus pandemic has left us grasping for any anchor, anything with a semblance of permanence. And we have become stuck in a kind of holding pattern whose starting point is a return to the way things were, and a fear for how things might be. When the pandemic is over, when life returns to normal, we can. Our sentences remain unfinished, as the hoped-for change remains unachieved, as the future remains murky. Things are not normal. And so we are not moving forward. But the truth of your blessing to us transcends pandemics, lockdowns, Zoom services, and those decades since our marriage. The only continuity in life indeed is growth and fluidity, and in freedom. We are still dancing, all of us. And like dancers, we pass barely touching, or these days sometimes even more physically distanced from each other. And yet, like dancers, even on opposite sides of a stage, we are partners still in the same pattern, moving, growing together in a harmony that is beautiful. If only we resist, as you urged us. Resist the terror of life's ebb as much as we leapt at its flow. And then you blessed us with ahava and achava, love and abiding friendship. And we still have those as strong as ever. Elizabeth and I have those. It worked, Sam. The blessing worked. And we are okay, even in these circumstances. Good, I would even venture to say, thanks in part to you. Now multiply that by 80 years of days and hours and moments and blessings, and you, Sam, our teacher, our friend, our rabbi, you have a lifetime legacy of worlds upon worlds of strength and faith, love, wisdom and activism, goodness and hope. So in that spirit, let us now offer blessings for you. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu. May the one who blessed our sages and our teachers in every generation bless and guide our teacher and our Rabbi Sam Stahl. Sustain him in his dedication and diligence. May he be ever curious to grow and inspired to learn as well as teach. And may he continue to inspire us with his love of Jewish learning and the community of all humankind. And may all of us, this congregation, his friends and family, may they always support you, Sam, and may you ever be a light to our world and an effective messenger of Torah. God grant him good health and strength and openness of heart to all humanity, and guide us all in sharing with Sam and Lynn our appreciation for all they do as holy vessels in your service. Baruch atah Adonai, hamilamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, who instructs our people Israel in the ways of Torah. Amen. Happy birthday, Sam. Mazel tov.
Hello, Rabbi Stahl, and happy birthday. I just want to say how honored I feel that I was asked to put together a musical presentation in honor of you, in honor of your birthday. When I received the call from Rabbi Nathan, it was really wonderful to be asked to put something together. She told me that a little bird told her that this piece we are about to perform for you is one of your favorites. I have enlisted the help of 3 of my colleagues from the San Antonio Symphony to put together this performance of Handel's Largo for you. I hope and wish you many, many more years of good health and happiness. And we are very, very happy to be able to present this piece of music for you in tribute to your birthday. Happy birthday.
We are thrilled to officially present Rabbi Stahl with a beautiful vase gifted by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry and the Berg family. The inscription on the vase reads, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. May you go from strength to strength. Presented to Rabbi Samuel M. Stahl in celebration of 80 years of purposeful and inspired living, and with deep gratitude and appreciation for your continued dedication to Temple Beth-El and the Interfaith community of San Antonio.
Good evening. As I reflect upon all that you have done to make this deferred 80th birthday celebration so memorable, I am, in the words of the late Milton Bendiner, our distinguished education director, bankrupt. My heart is overflowing with gratitude at this hour. My limitless thanks go out especially to Betty Wexler and Emily Kaufman, who chaired this event so successfully under the most trying of circumstances. And I'm also boundlessly grateful to our temple president, Dr. Amy Benedict, and my cherished colleague, Rabbi Mara Nathan. I thank Rabbi Roose tonight for his very important message to us. Rabbi Roose, who I have watched as he has developed in the rabbinate, embodies in my mind and my judgment the best of the American rabbinate. He's a credit to our vocation. He combines a devotion to scholarship, a passion for social justice and social action, and incomparable people skills. I don't envy any rabbi who has to preach to a congregation consisting of Ron Klain, Ted Koppel, Norm Ornstein, Jonah Pesner, Rabbi Jonah Pesner, and Rabbi Ambassador David Saperstein. Most of all, I could never have accomplished anything in life, or in the rabbinate for that matter, were it not for Lynn, my cherished soulmate, my beshert. Those of you who know Lynn recognize her unusual empathy. Any success that I have achieved can be attributed to her wise counsel, and I would have had far more lapses of judgment had it not been for Lynn's wise intervention. During my rabbinate of over 50 years, I think about the unexpected happenings that ultimately led to my coming to San Antonio and to Temple Beth-El. Lynn and I grew up in the Midwest, she in Upper Michigan and I in Western Pennsylvania, 1 mile from the Ohio border. And in our wildest imagination, we never imagined that we would spend the majority of our earthly years in San Antonio. When I was ordained a rabbi in 1967, I served as a United States Army chaplain, first in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and later in Seoul, Korea. As I was planning a return to civilian life during that year in Korea, I was in correspondence with a rabbi of a large congregation in Chicago who was interested in my becoming his assistant. And I was so certain that I would become his assistant and would live in Chicago that when Lynn and I purchased a car in Korea, we had it shipped to the port of Chicago. However, Rabbi Malcolm Stern, who at that time headed the Reform Rabbinic Placement Commission, strongly advised me not to sign an agreement with this rabbi until I met him. And fortunately, I didn't sign the agreement. When I was officially discharged from active duty in 1969, I called Rabbi Stern to see which pulpits were still available, and he gave me a long list, and on that list was Galveston, Texas. I decided to interview there. I fell in love with the place and with Temple B'nai Israel, the Henry Cohen Memorial, and spent 7 rewarding years in that pulpit. And by the way, my first president at Temple B'nai Israel was Neil Nathan, the father of Larry Nathan, who is Rabbi Nathan's husband. In many ways, it was a very fortunate place to begin my civilian rabbinate, a most positive experience. After years of battling infertility problems, Lynn and I learned that there was only a slim possibility that we would become biological parents. So we learned about a renowned adoption agency called the Edna Gladney Home in Fort Worth. And only those living in Texas, New York, and New Jersey were eligible to adopt children from there. How blessed we were to be in the right place at the right time to adopt Heather and Elisa, who have brought untold rewards into our lives. We are so proud of them, their husbands, Jeff and Marco, and our 6 grand jewels, Austin, Carly, Lily, Kira, Sabrina, and Charlie. Well, in Galveston, for those 7 years, I had met numerous members of Temple Beth-El. My work with the youth group with Tofty connected me to several people from Safety and its legendary advisor, Jane Lauderstein. Also, some products of Temple Beth-El attended medical school in Galveston and occasionally came to services at Temple B'nai Israel. It was announced that the Venerable Rabbi Jacobson was retiring. Some of these people from San Antonio suggested that I apply for the pulpit. Fortunately, the search committee here, headed ably by Jack Kaufman of blessed memory, recommended that I be selected as the rabbi to succeed Rabbi Jacobson. To follow a rabbi of such distinction who had served this congregation faithfully for over 38 years and had been the chief ambassador of the Jewish community to the wider community was an intimidating challenge. How grateful I am to have been the rabbi of Temple Beth-El for those 26 years. I came here at the tender age of 36. You watched me grow and helped me immeasurably in my maturation. You have supported me in countless ways. You accepted my shortcomings and celebrated my strengths. You allowed me to be at your side during moments of sadness and joy, during times of defeat and triumph. No rabbi could ask for more. I have also been fortunate to work with an exemplary Jewish community and interfaith community in which I have tried to become a bridge builder. So as I look back upon the years that I've spent in your midst, never would I have envisioned my great fortune in being your rabbi and in serving the people of this city. So in the words of our tradition, and in this spirit, I say, Ashreinu, happy are we. Ma tov chelkenu, how good is our portion. Uma naiv goralenu, and how pleasant has been our lot in life. Boundless thanks to all of you, and God bless you all.
One of the things that I love the most about my father is his love of dogs, although his super top favorite is his love of dachshunds. I love that he's able to change his mind and be open to things, his genuine care for the welfare of others, but most of all, I love his wit and his sense of humor and the sparkle in his eyes when he laughs.
Hello, Sam. I know you probably didn't expect to have an Italian-born son-in-law, but here I am, and I really appreciate the way you accepted me, the way your willingness to learn about my country, and everything that you taught me about your family, your community, and this country with your deep intellect and understanding and your patience. Thank you very much.
So what I treasure about you, Saba, is you're so nice and you always give me hugs, and I always like to be around you because you squeeze me, and I read your note. You both want to squeeze me too.
What I treasure the most about Saba is whenever I'm visiting where he is, he always hugs me, and they always make me feel warm inside, and it reminds me how generous, kind, and loving he is.
Saba, this is me. I'm Kira, and how I feel about you is I think you're very compassionate, nice, loving, caring. And that's what I really like about you, so love you. Love you, Saba.
I love Saba because he's always there for me, and he loves to make jokes and squeeze my cheeks. He loves to laugh and smile at everything I say, even if it's not funny. He's the best grandpa in the world.
Saba is an amazing role model and inspiration who encourages me to think deeply, work wisely, and always use diction when I speak. I love and miss you, Saba.
Saba is a loving and entertaining man. Saba has a lot to add when we talk about philosophy, politics, and religion. It means a lot to me when we have our adult conversations. I love and miss you, Saba.
Saba, when I lost my father 18 years ago, how fortunate I was that you stepped right in to help lead me through this life. I know how lucky I am to have you, your warmth, wisdom, and love are immeasurable to me. I love you.
Dada, will you get me some ice water? Every night, no matter how late or how tired you were, you sweetly brought it upstairs to me. I never told you why I needed it. It may or may not be because you kept the house at 80 degrees. But like that sweet gesture, you have continued to do and do for so many others, for the family, and for me.
We thank you for being part of this special night and joining us to celebrate Rabbi Samuel Stahl. I would also like to give special thanks to all those who helped plan this online event and those who gave many, many hours to help us plan our original in-person event. Have a great evening. Good night.
you.